Hello, beautiful people. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to my channel. I'm Jess, and I'm a life coach who specializes in two things: productivity and self-fulfillment. If either of those two things are of interest to you, which they should be because they're meant to improve your quality of life, then go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the little bell so you never miss a thing, and it'd help me out immensely, and I would appreciate you forever. Without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and roll into today's topic, which is around something I refer to as the quarter life crisis. So what you've probably heard of is the midlife crisis, which is similar yet different to the quarter life crisis. If you're like me, you might be picturing a middle-aged white man driving his sports car around that he looks too old for with a younger woman. I know that's probably an offensive image, but it's what's up there. It's what society has put in my brain. And you know, it's something that we think of as not cool, not a good look, kind of risky even. This is an image that I want to do away with and look more into what is causing this situation. And be it a midlife crisis, a quarter life crisis, or any kind of this emotional crisis that's happening at any point of life, they basically have four shared characteristics. For one, you have questioning your life decisions. 2, being unhappy with the outcome of those decisions. 3, stagnation. And 4, usually accompanied by feelings of anxiety, depression, a combination of those, etc. And before we go any further, I want to make it clear that although this content is geared towards improving your quality of life, I am in no way a substitute for a doctor. So that's the midlife crisis. So why has this term quarter life crisis popped up? Well, it's because that is the time in life where people are commonly going through this kind of emotional upheaval. You're about in your early 20s, fingers crossed, we're all gonna live to 100, modern medicine. But you're in your early 20s, and this is a time after you're probably having to make all of these decisions that are supposed to be mapping out your future, and now it's go time. So you started in high school having to say, well, am I gonna go to college? What am I gonna major in? Am I gonna do the military? Am I gonna do a trade school? Am I gonna go take a year off and travel? Am I gonna do internships? What am I going to do? It's insane. And as such a young person, that's a lot of pressure. So what happens if you start down this path and you don't like it? It's not fulfilling to you. You feel like you've made a huge mistake. Well, do you keep going and hope things get better because now you've invested all this time? Do you stop, throw it away, reinvent yourself? It's gonna be different for each person, but it comes with a lot of feelings. It's not a good one. Your self-fulfillment is probably tanking. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this position. And your productivity is also probably really slowing down. Or maybe you're working your butt off, but you're really getting nothing out of it. You're not seeing the return. You're not seeing the happiness that should follow. If you're interested in more about the relationship between self-fulfillment and productivity, I'll link in the box below my video that goes into more detail on the definitions as well as the relationship and how they work off of each other. So what did my quarter life crisis look like? Well, I chose to go to college for 4 years and to get my degree in elementary education. I had a great college experience and I was so ready to graduate and get things going, and I had a plan. Let me tell you, I had it all worked out up here about what was gonna happen. Did that happen? No. I moved home for my student teaching anyway, so I was there for about 6 months before I even graduated. And I was gonna be there until I got a stable job so I could get out there and pay my bills. And did that happen immediately? No. Not only is this not always the fastest process, but when I was job hunting, boom, pandemic. And this again is a huge reason why quarter life crisis had popped into the picture, because there were a ton of people in that very same boat with me as a young adult looking for a job during a pandemic. Think that threw a wrench into people's plans? You betcha, including mine. So there I was. Because I was in education, the hiring windows are more specific than a lot of jobs. Summer was winding down and it did not look like it was gonna happen. I had a lot of plans that hinged on me getting that job. I felt like there was a bunch of things I couldn't do. For one, I was very much excited to get my own place. I'm an introvert and a more independent person, so I like my own space and I was so looking forward to it. I was also single at the time and not really wanting to date while I was living at home. Now, don't let that hold you back if you're in that position. That was my own personal feeling and somewhat of an insecurity, but don't let that hold you back. That's just me. Basically, I was putting my life on hold until I could get a job. And like I said, it didn't look like it was gonna happen. So what do? I felt like I had been working towards this. I put all my applications out there, did everything that I thought I could do to prepare, and it wasn't amounting to the outcome that I wanted. And I felt stuck. So again, number one, questioning my life decisions. I had had a couple interviews at that time and didn't get it. But in general, I still had a good sense that I was going to be a good teacher. I'm good at interviewing. It just isn't always guaranteed that you're gonna get the first job you interview for, right? We all have to build some resilience in that aspect. But I was more questioning about the things that I did leading up to it. Did I prepare enough? Should I have done this instead? Should I have started looking earlier? I just started questioning everything as more of an anxiety response to what was happening. 2, again, unhappy with the outcome. Clearly, I wanted to be hired and get the heck out of there. Feel that sense of security that comes with having a job. 3, stagnation. At this point, I am fully unemployed. I felt like I had done all the things that I could do to get hired, and I was like, where do I go from here? How do I spend my time? All my energy is focused on getting this job, and I haven't gotten it. So what do? Stagnation. Productivity tanks. Self-fulfillment in the gutter. And lastly, again, those feelings that came with it of, some anxiety. I was feeling that. I even was questioning if I was maybe depressed. The pandemic is basically considered a global trauma that everyone has experienced. Of course, it manifests differently in different people, but I myself was struggling, much like a lot of people my age. So yes, the pandemic has greatly contributed to the quarter life crisis. So that was my experience, but again, it's gonna look differently for everyone. Everyone's made different choices. Everyone's gone to different places. However, I would put this general idea of this emotional crisis into 2 main categories. The first one is like mine, where you have a destination in mind, but you're stuck, you're waiting, you're not sure how to get there. Number 2 is you've probably reached some kind of destination. You knew where you wanted to go, you got there, and you don't like it. You reached the destination, but are now looking for plan B and don't know what direction to go in. Either way, your productivity and self-fulfillment are probably not in good places, and it is time to reevaluate. What do? Great question. Thank you for asking. That means it is time for me to tell you how I got through my own quarter life crisis. The first thing before you should start expending energy on actions is make sure your head is on straight. You don't want to be wasting energy if you don't know why you're doing it and where it's going to take you. Pro tip. What I did first is started with a lot of journaling. It was about very intentionally sorting myself out. And the first thing that I needed to deal with were a lot of those negative feelings. My self-esteem was pretty low at that time because I was putting so much weight into something that really didn't define me and was out of my control and something so many people experience. So to bring back some light into my life, one of the first things that I did was journal about gratitude. I am a strong believer that a gratitude mindset is something that can change your life. For example, I am grateful for a family that supports me during hard times. I am grateful to have a place to live while I figure my life out. That last one was important to me because I was so grateful, but it was also one of those things that I was honestly kind of salty about. You know, I didn't really want to be there. I didn't want to be living at home after graduating college. I wanted out. But it was important to reframe that, because I'm well aware that not everyone is so lucky. The next section that I journaled about was called manifesting. If you're not very familiar with the idea of manifestation, it's basically claiming something before you have it, so it then comes to you. This is generally led by a bunch of I am statements. For example, my first one is I am choosing to be happy. I do definitely believe that happiness is a choice and it comes from inside. Is it hard to be happy sometimes? Yes, not downgrading that, but it is something that you need to make a clear choice about. Another one, for example, is I am practicing patience. Was I at that time? No, I was very impatient. Do I feel like I grew in this area though? Yeah, because I had to. Next was a needs to be said. This is where I kind of delved into those thoughts that were kind of on a constant negative loop ping-ponging around in my head. For example, having to wait for my dream job / employment does not decrease my value as a person or educator. Nobody is perfect and that's okay. Those that know me know my worth and do not judge me. That was something that I did struggle with. Having that support system is really just so key. My next section was, another little boost to myself. A list of what I love about me, all the positive traits that I could possibly think of about myself. Now, we're really starting to hone in on things that are gonna be helpful in guiding you on your journey towards self-fulfillment. This section was called Things That Make Me Happy. This can be anything as small as flowers and sunshine, to teaching or travel or my friends and family. But as you come up with these things, these are gonna give you a direction. These are things that you should be seeking daily, as well as helps expand your idea past just this one thing that you're focusing on. I was stuck in this mind loop of thinking that I'm not gonna be happy until I'm teaching. This helps to broaden that back out so I can realize there's more than just that. There's more to focus on. The last section of my personal journal was called Ideal Me, and this was kind of the last step that helped me refocus my attentions. Because remember, I was in that type of crisis where I knew where I wanted to go, but I was being blocked at that time. I had a destination, but I didn't know what to do with the time until I got there. In my Ideal Me section, I did have teacher on there. However, I had a whole bunch of other things, being healthy and active and confident, and that whole section on there about being a yogi, which I can say now has maybe changed. But that's okay. This is gonna change with you all the time, and it's perfectly fine to add to it or take things off that no longer are important to you. Now, did I do all this just once? No. If you keep going, I have done this a few times. It's honestly just a big emotional pick-me-up. From my Ideal Me section, I realized one of the things that I could grow in during that time was my health. I have never been consistent at working out or going to the gym or really sticking to one type of activity. That while I didn't have a lot more that I could be doing to work towards getting hired, I was gonna focus my energy on my health, because that was something that would still make me happy and bring me some self-fulfillment. That was my goal. I will work out every day before the wedding. And that happened to be my brother's wedding at the time. So I had a very specific goal. I had a time frame that I was gonna do it, and it was something that I knew that I could accomplish. It had an end. It had a like, check, check, check. Yes, you did it. And everyone knows that is the best feeling. It wasn't something that was just like, I'm gonna be healthier. A little too ambiguous, right? Harder to measure, harder to say, yes, I achieved it. This, you can say I achieved it. And I did, which was big for me because I am not a workout type of person. Something I'm still working on. But in this way, like I said, it redirected my mind out of this roadblock, not getting hired, into a different realm of a completely separate goal that I was then able to achieve, bring me a different sense of self-fulfillment. Now, I have always been a journaler and enjoy writing out my feelings, and it's how I kind of organize my brain. If that's not you and that seems tricky or difficult, there are a ton of awesome resources out there, some guided journals, guided meditations even on YouTube that can help you through that. For example, I have bought myself a journal. This one's called the Self-Love Journal, Banish Self-Doubt and Learn to Love Yourself. It's by Leslie Marchand. Sorry, Leslie, if I just mispronounced your name. I'll try to link this below if I can find it on Amazon again. But it just has a bunch, it has like some like prompts in it that are gonna help you kind of learn and grow, as well as responses to it. It really like works its way through building you up. Another example of that, and this one is maybe even more appropriate for the time: enjoying where I'm at, learning to love the present and live in the moment. This is by the company Opal House. But again, it has prompts in there for you, things that are gonna guide you and help you stay organized so you're not having to come up with it on your own. And this will also offer you a little bit more diversity than just what I showed you in my journal. Some other books that I could recommend that could help you kind of divert your current mindset. This one called The Daily Stoic. This is something that just has little philosophy-based excerpts in it, and then it gets broken down underneath. But this is just like a daily read. This is how I would start my morning, so I would get my head on straight about an idea or concept that I wanted to practice that day. Another good one is Daring Greatly. This is all about vulnerability and what kind of role it plays in your life and how you can get better at being vulnerable. Again, this was just another separate goal of mine, another part of my ideal self that I felt like I could grow in. That's the main goal, picking out a different facet of your ideal self and heading in that direction, not letting the roadblock that you're currently facing stop you right there. If you're feeling like you have a good sense of a new direction that you could go in, something else that's going to bring you fulfillment, then my next suggestion is to make sure you're surrounding yourself with ideas, people, content that is going to be inspirational to you and your journey. One of the big killers to productivity is getting stuck, scrolling on social media and on electronics and YouTube binging, Netflix binging, all the things. We've all done it. You might be doing it now. But hopefully if you're here, you're now seeing that there are things out there that are gonna be more helpful opposed to just entertaining. Whether that's you're on Pinterest making boards about, your travel destinations you wanna go to, interview tactics, or you're following someone who you really look up to and, desire their lifestyle. Just make sure that you are consuming content that's going to be uplifting instead of either one, just distracting, or too negative. I myself have 2 Instagram accounts. One is basically unfiltered. It's more about the social element of keeping in touch with, all the various people I've met. The second one is much more geared and directed towards those things that are inspiring to me. And I can tell you, I have a completely different experience on the second one than I do the first. This is also a good place to start if you feel very unmotivated, like your productivity is just in the gutter. I have always found that if I watch, for example, enough workout videos, enough things talking about the benefits of exercise, if I just sit there on my bum, on my booty for hours but watching exercise videos, I will eventually be like, you know what's a good idea? Doing some crunches. I might have wasted a ton of time, but it will eventually get me in the right mindset. Energy is contagious. Surround yourself with the right kind. If you're trying to steer away from electronics and the social media stuff, I have discovered through another YouTuber, which I will try to find the original source that inspired me to do this. I did tweak it a little bit and I'll link it below. But you're taking cards and essentially putting your ideals on them, reminders that you need to hear, and it's about building habits through daily repetition. For example, on my first card, it says, reading this shows that you care and have not given up on your self-improvement. I will talk more in a later video about this if you want to go into more detail. If you do, drop me a comment and say that this is something that you're interested in hearing more about. I would love to share with you. So because these are the things that I did, a lot of them are more geared towards that first type of emotional crisis I would talk about, where you're just blocked from the destination you're trying to get to and need to redirect. If you're in the second variety where you don't know where you want to go, you just know you're unhappy now, I strongly suggest the first step of journaling. It's all about self-discovery and reevaluating what makes you happy, because it shouldn't just be one thing. It's not one thing for anyone. You might think it is, but it's not. We are all well-rounded individuals that can get self-fulfillment from multiple sources. This video at this point is getting rather lengthy, so I'm gonna cut it there. If you're interested in more techniques for overcoming this kind of quarter life crisis or any kind of emotional crisis as it pertains to those 4 symptoms, if you will, let me know. Drop me a comment. You can reach out through my Instagram. That'll be linked below, and I'll be happy to bring you more content for this kind of thing specifically. Otherwise, do give me a like if you appreciated the content, subscribe if you'd like to see more, hit the little bell notification so you don't miss a thing, and leave me a comment on if you have other ideas, because I only did so many. And I'm sure the community would be overjoyed if someone could bring a new idea to the table. And I would love to see it, because again, this could strike at any time. I plan to do this a few more times in life, just saying. If you've done all those things, then thank you so much. I appreciate you, and you can have a fabulous rest of your day. And make sure to come back so we can keep doing this journey together.